Hey,
Good morning,
everyone.
everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Welcome to the Proactive Health Collective of Keene.
Absolutely, and we're glad to have you here. We have a special guest, but I think he forgot. And he's probably going to be like in half an hour go, oh, no. I did
So we
leave
may
a
or may
phone.
not have some more people today.
Wait, you know what? The thing is, we always have stuff to talk about, right?
Well, we were going to talk about hyperbaric fitness was his
Yeah,
business, and hyperbaric chambers, and I think we could probably talk about that a little bit because
definitely.
you probably know something about that, and I think it's an interesting subject. So and
Yeah.
I certainly have some questions.
Absolutely, we can talk about that. I want to stream this to Facebook, and it might take me a little bit of finagling to do that. So if you guys can just chat or whatever, what's going on, in your practices this week, and what kind of
Hey,
things?
talk amongst yourselves.
Talk amongst yourselves. We are, we have been really busy actually, and a lot of people seeking help, and it's been great to be able to be a resource. So, spring is in the air, I guess. I don't know. People are looking to get healthier. They're, I think coming out of the COVID woodwork, so to speak, like the lockdown, and people are, I think, starting to emerge and wanting to take some steps to just improve their experience.
Yeah,
Nothing like a little bit of sunshine to make you think about that, huh?
I know. Yeah, absolutely.
For those of you
what.
who aren't in our region, it's been 80s and sunny here in southern New Hampshire, which for May is a real treat. So everyone's kind of got this sort of summer spring fever going on right now.
Yeah. Cassian was actually a little disappointed. She thought it got too warm too quick, and enjoy that nice low 70-degree weather for a few more weeks would be ideal.
Yep. Hey, good morning, Allison.
Hi,
Allison.
how are you
Good
guys?
morning.
Good.
So maybe
Doing great. Welcome.
For those, there might be some people that have never been on before. I'm Dr. Gene Clerkin with Monadnock Natural Health. And we have Dr. Matt Abatelli with Cheshire Wellness Center, and Allison Millar with Body Balance. I always get it wrong. Basic Body Balance, right?
Yeah, basic.
It's the B's that confuse me, but acupuncturist extraordinaire. And then Rebecca Montrone with Wondrous Roots, not wondrous roots, mind you, but wondrous roots.
Let me tell you this about the Facebook feed. It's on Wondrous Roots. That's the only page I could get it to. So if you guys want to go in and share it to somebody, want to share it to the FIC page, I couldn't do that, and but you can grab it from mine and share it. So if you want to do that, take a few minutes to do that. It's important because a lot of people do follow us on Facebook. And you know what? I was really intrigued about gabbing as we get into this. Lidum, one of my clients with Lyme disease, tick season has been just unbelievably crazy this year. People are telling me they go out and it's like nearly impossible not to come in without ticks and their animals and everything. So what I want to say is, somebody told me about Lidum, the homeopathic, the little pellets, homeopathic thing for Lidum. And I found this woman, some credentialed person, saying that Lidum will prevent Lyme all the time. And I really love that, like just something simple that people can use on a daily basis. It's not expensive, like 60 pellets is like $9 to have in your system, because this is a huge concern. You feel like you're playing Russian roulette just to enjoy the great outdoors. And I think this is probably the worst season we've really seen.
So is that a general sort of, what is Lidum?
It's a plant. So I'll find,
Right.
let me just find, yeah, it's a plant. So homeopathy is they suss and dilute things down. You know about that. They suss, but maybe our listeners don't. Down to such a weak dilution that you cannot even find a molecule of that plant in the solution, and yet it's the energy from it.
That's so wild.
The weaker the dilution, the stronger the medicine. And it's so interesting because Andrew Weil, who is a famous you know, naturopathic type of doctor, but he's an MD. He actually was so skeptical about that because he's like, you cannot find a molecule of this in the solution. And then yet he put that into it in a scientific experiment where that particular thing would cause a certain reaction, and it truly did. So it's very, very exciting. And I think we make a formula called Lyme resistance, which has astragalus is the big thing, and then a few other Eleuthero and echinacea that help keep the bacteria from being able to destroy your immune system to get in. But I think that's what Ledum is doing, and I think it would be super easy for people just to use. I like to be outdoors. I'm just going to take a dose every day, you know.
So it's internally like a liquid?
No, they're usually little pellets.
Mm-hmm.
You put them under your tongue.
Yep.
And just a reminder, you know, so all this stuff, especially with Lyme disease, and if you're living in a, you know, the Lyme belt, so to speak, all of this stuff is super helpful, and you want to take as many, if there's something like this, especially homeopathic, which would have no contraindication, you know, it's not going to, if you don't need it, your body's not going to use it, right? So that's a great thing that you can do, but there's no substitute for a tick check.
Yeah.
There's no substitute for a tick check.
Right.
You know, being smart about it.
We check the kids every night and ourselves, because and you know, we find them pretty regularly.
How long does the tick need to be attached before it can transmit the Lyme? I always forget that.
There's different research out there, but some of it shows as little as 3 hours, and the majority of the short-term research shows 6 hours. So it's really important to do a tick check a few times a day, especially if you're out there.
And there's places you can actually, if you have a tick attached to you, you can send it out and have the tick tested for Lyme. And then you know if you want to do the course of antibiotics.
And you can put your herbals right on the tick bite too.
Yes.
Becky, the one you've got would probably be great for that.
Yeah, and I tell people to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Put it right on there and take it internally.
Yeah, perfect.
I do advise people, as much as we're into natural health, there are places for antibiotics, and if you feel that you've been infected with Lyme, if you catch it early with 30 days of doxycycline, you're fine. If you wait and now this passes the blood-brain barrier and you're into chronic Lyme, you're in a totally different world. And so that's one time I'm like, just don't even, you know, don't even mess around with it.
And a lot of doctors will lately, what I've been seeing is that they're trying to prescribe 10 or 14 day course of antibiotics, usually doxycycline. And I don't know where that's coming from, but unfortunately the research shows that that's not enough. So exactly. I would say you're going to, if you do go down the antibiotic route and that is something that resonates with you, you need to advocate for yourself and have at least 21 days, 30, like Becky is saying, is conservative.
Yeah, I mean,
you got to clean up after that too, right?
Sure, and you can do it at the same time. I always like to tell people if you're on antibiotics and you need to be on them, use Saccharomyces boulardii is the strain you want when you're taking antibiotics because it uses a different mechanism of keeping your microbiome where it's supposed to be than your typical probiotics. So you don't have to worry, like I took my antibiotic, but now I have to wait so long before I take my probiotics. And so you definitely want to, it is the probiotic that is most effective to prevent C. difficile, which is that horrible diarrhea infection that comes from some antibiotics. We see wipe out, you know, a nursing home, you know, take a big toll in nursing homes and hospitals and things when C. diff is around. So, so if you have to do that, yeah, use your Saccharomyces boulardii too, and, you know, get through it. If you're not a person who's using antibiotics all the time, I mean, I haven't been on antibiotics in decades. So if I had to do a course of antibiotics, I'm not going to freak out because it's not a chronic thing that I'm doing to myself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, you know, if you do catch it early, you know, we have things topically that, and, you know, that you can get to it, that I think you could probably save yourself from the antibiotic route. You know, in speaking of homeopathics and homeopathic resonances, that technology allows you to actually see what's happening and track it and see where it is in the body and also see what levels it is. So you can tell whether it's advancing where it's moving, where it's more concentrated, where it's less concentrated, and that gives you information to determine, if your course of action is working, because tons of people get antibiotics. I have them every day in the office. They had antibiotic treatment for their Lyme, and they didn't get it handled. It beats it down a little bit, but if you don't get it all, it lies dormant until more stress comes on the body, and then next thing you know,
Yeah.
could be 5 years down the road, you're like, oh my God, what's going on with my body? And we check, everybody that goes through our doors. As we go through our process, we check everybody, and we're finding about 40% of the people have Lyme. Some that know of it, some that don't.
I would guess it'd be a lot higher than that, Gene. I would think, honestly, it'd be almost everybody that would have some sort of low level of that. It's interesting.
Well,
Yeah.
and what we see too is that when people's immune systems are disrupted, and again, I know vaccination, but we know with the Gardasil vaccine, which is for preventing HPV infection and that kind of thing, that we're giving kids as young as 9 years old, 8, 9 years old, and up in the 3 shots. All of a sudden, people have Lyme disease or Bartonella, which is a co-infection that comes from cat scratch fever kind of thing. Why? Because like you were saying, Dr. Matt, a lot of people have this stuff in their system, but their immune systems just keep it in check. And then all of a sudden you mess with that immune system and all of a sudden it's over. Those things are opportunistic and they are going to come in and have a heyday. And so, yeah.
There was a really interesting study that was done, and it looked at migrant farm workers here in the States. And the majority of these guys were all coming up from Central and South America. And they were working in the fields and they were working in the tick belts, and they tested positive for every single tick-borne illness that was possible to contract, yet they were completely asymptomatic.
Wow.
So you have to sort of ask the question, okay, so they're asymptomatic. In other words, they have no symptoms and they show no signs of disease or pathology, yet they test positive. Also, you could take a look at all the wild animals that live in the tick belt. And we have there's some, anecdotal evidence of, the sheer number of ticks being an issue for some of the larger mammals like the moose. But if you just take a look at, the coyote and the deer and all these other animals that live there that are bit by these ticks all the time, they don't have symptoms of Lyme disease, yet our cats and dogs also will show symptoms of Lyme disease. So we have to kind of take a step back and say, okay, so what really is going on here, and why do these symptoms show up? And I have a few ideas, but maybe you can draw some conclusions yourself.
The immune system is miraculous. And when you just arbitrarily go in there and mess with it, you have no idea. People have no idea what you're messing with something that's really primed to work well for us if we nurture it and supply it with the things it needs. And you want to go in and just wonky, sort of like do something to it. It's not going to, it's I don't know, it's just very dangerous, very dangerous.
So think about this for a second, again, along the homeopathic resonance kind of thing. We can look at organs, so the thyroid, the liver, and pick up the resonances of bacteriums, virals, parasites, Lyme, whatever. And what we see is that in particular organs like the thyroid, it always happens to be this particular category of viral challenge. And the liver tends to be more bacterial. And in the pancreas, they tend to be more parasitic. And in the prostate, it tends to be more fungal. And it seems to me that when these tissues break down, they attract certain things to them. And so once these things are found, like, oh, there's a virus in the thyroid, we would automatically assume that the virus caused the thyroid breakdown. But maybe it's the thyroid breakdown that invites the virus or any organ in the body.
I love where you're going with that, Gene. So then we have to really take a look. First we start with just talking about Lyme disease, but now we're starting to talk about what contributes to the breakdown of some of these vital organs. What are some of the loads that we accumulate that would start to encourage that to happen? Now we're starting to get to a root and more proactive approach to this stuff.
I want to just read about Lidum a little bit. I just found the page that I was looking at. It says, homeopathy and Lyme disease, how Lidum is used to treat Lyme. Lidum is one of many homeopathic remedies for Lyme disease. So what is ledum? The plant Ledum palustre is an evergreen shrub related to the rhododendron, mountain laurel, and wintergreen. It's also known as wild rosemary, marsh tea, and Labrador tea. The plant has traditionally been used for puncture wounds, bruising, and insect bite or stings. It's also believed by many to relieve symptoms of arthritis and aid recovery from ankle sprains. For the last 20 years, homeopathic practitioners have also touted it as a treatment for Lyme disease, which, unlike antibiotics, doesn't upset the balance of good bacteria in the gut. Homeopaths claim that the medicinal properties of ledum can cure Lyme disease in both animals and humans. They also assert that preparations of the plant can help prevent the onset of the illness when first taken as soon as possible after the infecting tick bite has occurred and continued daily for a week. So anyway.
Is this, Becky, is this something that you make? Because I know you make a lot of things in your shop.
Nope, I don't make, I'm not a homeopathic practitioner. I love homeopathy, but a truly good homeopath is amazing. It's like a traditional Chinese medicine, as Allison, this kind of thing. It's a very unique, focus. So I do what I do best and outsource the rest, but I did buy ledum for people to pick up here. Yeah, so I just bought the pellets from, a homeopathic company.
Allison, what's the Chinese medicine or acupuncture take on Lyme and sort of what we're talking about?
You really got to open the detox pathways and boost the immune system. That's at least my take on it. I'm always, if someone comes with Lyme, I'm going to refer them to somebody. I like Rife practitioner. I've had some people in my network get treated with Rife. So Rife is an energetic frequency, so that it's like a machine basically, and it matches the frequency of Lyme itself. And so the organism you can actually Google it and you'll see it on YouTube. You'll see a Rife machine for certain types of bacteria, and the bacteria is floating around, and then they put it on and it freezes and it starts to kind of tremble, and it actually just explodes under this, because apparently, with energetic medicine, it's so awesome. It's really kind of complicated. You get into kind of quantum physics about it, but two things can't exist at the same exact sort of frequency, is my understanding. So I don't know, but I've had people that has worked with. So I refer, find people like that, or there's other practitioners I've heard that are using magnetic therapy for Lyme as well.
Yeah, and Rife machine produces low electromagnetic energy waves. These waves are similar to radio waves. Supporters of the treatment claim that the Rife machine can treat different conditions, including cancer. Rife, this was Royal Rife, and I totally agree with you, Allison. I have a lot of confidence in this, but of course he was considered a quack. Developed.
And I like him already.
Yeah, in the 1920s. He's in good company right here.
Yeah.
He was an American scientist. The machine is also called a Rife frequency generator. The Rife machine and other types of similar machines produce low energy waves. These waves are called radio frequency electromagnetic fields. They have low energy compared to X-rays or radiotherapy, which has high energy. The use of low energy waves as a treatment is less common, but there is some reason. So what I want to say is I've seen people use Rife. I had a practitioner I worked with down in Connecticut when I was down there. And he used Rife for Lyme, for cancer, this kind of thing is so interesting. And don't you find it fascinating, colleagues, that we're talking about energy again? We've been having great results with these bioenergy discs we're using from Alpha Biocentrics for a number of conditions. And I mean, people just know, you can't deny it. And this is working through quantum physics, working through the central nervous system. It's working through these discs having been programmed with the energy. Everything has an energy frequency, everything.
Yeah.
And I love, that's starting to find its way into so many more disciplines, thank goodness. It's like the technology that you're the proud owner of, your body, is so much more advanced than we'll ever know. Mm-hmm. And we come up with all of these sort of technological gadgets and cogs in a wheel and things, which could we say are perhaps just an externalization of the technology that we already own? You know, here we are talking about energy, you know, and that might sound a little woo woo, but at the same time, like, anybody have one of these smarty pants phones at home?
Here you go.
You know, like, first of all, there's no cord here. This is just floating in space. And yet somehow on the screen here, I can have a video conversation with someone who's not only on the other side of the planet, but in a whole different day, like New Zealand, instantly. Just right here, like no cord that goes all the way through the Pacific Ocean. And that's not weird. Nothing weird about that.
Very good illustration.
In the
Yeah,
military,
you know, I think
too, there's a whole division of the military that's into like energetic warfare now. If you remember, the Cuba embassy workers got sort of like this like sound bombardment issue with them. That was really interesting.
That's what Dan Glazer talks about, who's with Alpha Biocentrics.
Mhm.
He uses that as the classic example of how people can use energy fields to manipulate other people. You know,
everything is energy, really. I mean, sometimes people say, I'm sure you've heard this, Matt, is this energy work? And it's like, well, technically everything's energy work. No matter what you do, it's energy work,
right.
right?
I love to say energy is all that matters.
Right. That's
Little physics joke. Yeah.
Well, if energy cannot be created or destroyed, it can only change forms. That's your
yes,
basic principle of physics. Then of course it's literally everywhere since the beginning of the creation of the universe and all
Yeah.
the energy that
it's a
was.
law of thermodynamics. Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
it literally makes the difference between protection and growth. So a system, in order to regulate, needs to be in a state of growth, right? If it's in protection or defense, the system isn't going to be able to regulate. It doesn't matter if it's your body dealing with a disease process or a unwanted invader like Lyme, you know, or if it's the plant on the windowsill or the tree outside that's, you know, got the oncoming onslaught of caterpillar. Like if it's in defense, it's not going to grow. It needs to be in a state of sort of like ease so that it can flourish in that case. You can't have both at once. And energy is the key to that. It's like New Year's resolutions. How many people out there have made a New Year's resolution that they didn't keep?
I never make them. I just
Yeah,
don't.
right. And that's
I know myself
usually,
too well.
it's usually the comment. I don't make New Year's resolutions. Like, no, right? Because like, yeah, that'll fail. And it's a little deeper than that. Like it'll probably fail again, you know?
It's just like,
And
I know myself. I know
yeah,
myself.
right. So,
I'm
but
like,
here's the
"Last 3
thing.
days, you know."
The reason that a New Year's resolution fails is not because it isn't a good idea. It's because we don't have the energy to sustain it.
Mhm.
So there's a reason you don't have the energy to sustain it. And increasing the energetic properties of your body is what we're all talking about. No matter what the path is that you go up the mountain. Any one of the practitioners on this panel and the other people in your circle that are talking about similar things are talking about the same stuff, which is how do we increase the energetic value of your system so your body can do what it does, which is heal and flourish. You're designed to do that.
Yeah, you know,
So what
the cool thing about
What
the
I'd
cool thing
like,
about that is really, just real quick, that whatever modality you apply to the body, it can take that input, that energy, and create enough energetic momentum in itself to heal. And that can be an herb, it can be a homeopathic, it can be a network spinal analysis entrainment,
Mhm.
it can be a needle, you know, and that's the kind of
Yeah.
cool thing, which I think is why so many things are successful for the same, you know, so you could have Lyme, for instance, and you have many different ways that you could apply, you know, action. I think the key to it is really to know, you know, whether it's, you know, have some metrics to kind of look at whether it's handled or not.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you have to talk
I was
about
gonna ask
Oh, go
Matt.
ahead, Becky. Go ahead.
I was going to ask you, like, and Allison and Jean, I'd like, you know, how you like just give us a statement about how what you do works with this energetic system. I mean, because I think that that's definitely everything you guys are doing is huge there. So just give us a little description, because a lot of people, you know, might not know that.
Sure.
This is going to be fun.
Yeah, it is, right? Okay,
We're all
so
gonna say the exact same thing in different ways. We'll see.
yeah, right. So at Cheshire Wellness Center, I'll frame it like this. There's something many of you might know of the man Tony Robbins. He's sort of like a life and performance coach and runs all over the world doing all sorts of programs. And he has a lot of people on staff and he basically has access to anything in the world that he wants at his fingertips. And he talks about something that I think is really important to mention here in terms of energy. So he talks about strategy, right? And so a strategy is something that works each and every time, all the time. That's it. You have a strategy to achieve a certain goal, and the strategy works each and every time, all the time. Now, there are many ways that we could say that. Now, then he says that there is also a sustainable strategy. Now, the difference between strategy and sustainable strategy is very simple. Strategy works each and every time, all the time. Sustainable strategy works each and every time, all the time, and it liberates energy in the process. In other words, it increases momentum over time. So, what are some examples of sustainable strategies? Exercise, meditation, eating right, getting enough rest, having joy in your life. These things all liberate energy over time. So what we have to look at is so if that's really the key, and then we need to create sustainable strategies within someone's very operating system, so that not only are they in a state of growth, which I would say is like, so just to delineate growth real quick from like change, because sometimes it's like growth looks like change. So I could rearrange these two frames on the wall that are behind me, and that would be change, right? But it wouldn't actually like have any sort of like necessarily growth in this place. And what I mean by that is that there wouldn't necessarily be progress, right? So progress is like that we're changing something, that we have some sort of growth, and involves a new source of energy to be able to drive that change. So no matter which path up the mountain we're going on, if we're liberating more energy over time, we're going to have more strategies that we're going to be able to apply to our daily lives that are going to be more congruent and appropriate to the life that you're living. So in our office, what we do is we look at the spinal alignment. Why? Because the shape, the tension, the tone, the position of your spine is directly related to the shape, the tone, the tension, position of your life. Period. That doesn't matter if it's a social, mental, emotional, environmental, internal situation. It's all the same stuff. So what we do is that we take a look at the nervous system and say, okay, so what's going on here? Basically, where are there blockages? Where is there dis-ease? Where's there tension? Where's there pain? Where's the body totally checked out and completely unaware? And then we find places in the nervous system which are not that, which are 180 degrees the other way. Where's your system awake, aware, alive, full of life, has more energy than it's ever going to need? And we cue the system to pay attention to that. There's a really brilliant saying that goes, what you appreciate, appreciates. And we could also say that what you don't like and what you're trying to get rid of, you're just going to get more of. You can't get rid of something by trying to get away from it. You have to move toward something else. So if what you have is tension and a lack of energy, and you're just concerned about the fatigue and lethargic and I just don't want to be this way anymore, well, you're going to get a lot more of that. We have to look at where your body has resource, what grows it over time, what are the sustainable strategies that we can build so that your system can regulate, become self-regulating, can become reorganizing, and ultimately can evolve into whatever the next version of you is supposed to be. And there's the old self and the new self. Old self dragging its heels, new self wanting something more. And there's this vacillation that should happen for a little while as we start to like step out. And we all, I mean, gosh, we could do a whole one on this, couldn't we? Like the vacillation between like, oh, this is me when I'm sick, and no, this is me when I'm well, right? We probably all see that with patients and practice members as they come in and they go through that journey. That's whole nother energetic level. If you ever come up against that, you know that you're really getting into something good because you're actually pushing into a whole new energetic state. I'm going to leave it right there because I could just keep going, but that's that's sort of like the basic.
Fantastic.
I mean, we get very excited about this, and what I want to just say is that there's no limit to the amount of energy that you can liberate within your system. There is no limit. There's no limit to the amount of healing that you can obtain, that you can truly optimize and have extraordinary health. And this is something that would fly in the face of Western medicine, which is concerned with trauma care. Thank God, it's like, if you have a broken arm or you have like, sepsis or something, like, hey, don't come to see me right away. Like, come see me after that. Please go to the medical doctor. They do that really, really well. And they've dedicated themselves to that, thank goodness. Oh, there's a lot to share, I think.
What about you, Allison? Because you're working with energy all the, isn't that what acupuncture is?
Yeah, this is right in my language. But yeah, I mean, I would just say it's much on a very basic level. We have a certain amount of energy in our system that's always there when we're alive. It's flowing through our organ systems. And even if you don't have an organ, you still have the energetic properties of those organs floating through your body. You have the meridians, the pathways of those energy, which is really cool to think about.
Wait,
But-
can I ask a question?
Yeah.
You mean if somebody had their gallbladder removed or somebody had a hysterectomy or something?
Yep. So the uterus it's an extra organ. There's not a full meridian for it, but a gallbladder, you can still work on the energetics of the gallbladder, which is influencing the entire system. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So we use stainless steel needles just to open up the energy flow. So we all have this energy that's flowing through, but there's certain areas there's not really enough of it. It's not flowing smoothly. And then there's other areas where there's kind of blockages and there's congestion of it. And so we just basically, like an electrician, kind of like move it from where there's too much of it to where there's not enough of it and just get it circulating freely. Basically, you're just freeing up your body's own energy.
Is that, so the stainless steel needle, is that because it's a conductor? Are you trying to bridge energy? Is that what's happening there?
Exactly. Yep.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah. You can, when
And
these
so,
were first kind of formed, they would use a lot of different types of metal. So like gold is more tonifying. So they would have gold needles and silver needles, and they went through, all the historically, they've had all different types of metal with it. And they've actually, so Japanese style will work with not inserting anything into the skin, but they'll use what's called a tation. And it can be metal, or I've seen different crystals. They did this more historically where they would use different gemstones, and the frequencies of those gemstones had different tonifying or dispersing properties too. And you would just you hold it over the point, and a true Japanese practitioner really does feel I think to be like a really good Japanese practitioner, you're doing a lot of Qigong, you're super in touch with your body's own energy, and they'll hold it like over a point, and they'll actually feel until the energy kind of like goes up and builds, and then at the maximum point, you're done. You've tonified that point.
Wow.
And when you
That's
get
amazing.
it is amazing. And you, in a Japanese treatment like that, they're very minimalistic. They'll do a lot of moxa and things like that, but they'll stay in the room with you for a full hour, but they might just do a tation on like 1 or 2 points, and that's your whole treatment. And it's like, when you get it spot on, the results are incredible.
Yeah.
And just for like context, how long, just remind me, like we're talking about traditions that weren't exactly like 100 or 200 years old, right?
Like the AMA?
This has been on the planet for a while for a good reason, hasn't it?
Right. 5,000 years ago was the beginning of Chinese medicine, which kicked off with Chinese herbs. But there's 5 branches of Chinese medicine. So there's herbs, exercise, nutrition, acupuncture, exercise, nutrition. I just get the last one. Nutrition, Chinese herbs, acupuncture, exercise.
Maybe spiritual something?
No.
No.
Nutrition, herbs, acupuncture. It'll come to me.
Yeah, that train will come back around.
it's interesting that you say, the Japanese use little, a minimalist approach, and,
Yeah.
network is a lot like that, Matt, right? Where you, really, it's about if you could make one contact and accomplish the change that you're after, then you're done. It's not a question of like, well, you get this many pokes for your fee. It's what can we do to advance the strategy? And if it takes one contact, so be it, right?
Yeah, advancing the strategy. And I think that, that's something that you'll find in all of these offices and a lot of similar ones, is that in order to have that type of profound response and sort of reverberation through the system, the number one most important ingredient in that, you know, healing, you might say, is you, the patient. Like, without a doubt, you know, if the practitioner is not making you like the single most important ingredient in the whole thing, like, you'll never have that kind of presence. You'll never have that kind of result. It's cogs in a wheel, and we're throwing medication at it, hoping for the best. That's a huge distinguishing factor.
Yeah. I want to piggyback on the thing you were saying, Allison, about the Japanese and the gems. Now, I know that there's a lot of validity to gemstone energy stuff. I'm not a practitioner of it, but I have a client who does do that. And she vows that she has fixed infertility with the proper stones being worn on the person. It's a very similar kind of thing. So these are, again, everything has energy. Different gems, emeralds, rubies, topaz, they all have different energies. It's a very, very fascinating area of we should get somebody on who does that. It sounds so shishi woo woo, and you guys know me. I'm not into the
Crystals.
Yeah, I'm not into that at all. But this is again talking about energy medicine. And she's made me things, like she made me I don't know where it is, but anyway, she made me years ago this thing. She goes, because you take care of everybody else, but you don't take care of yourself as much as you should. So I'm putting this together for you. I made you these earrings because of this. So these are going to impart the kinds of things I think you need. And it's not pie in the sky. And again, as we talk about energy, I think it just makes all the more sense. Yeah.
How
But,
could
you know,
not
yeah.
that's been formed over thousands of years with that extraordinary amount of pressure, how can that not have a significant amount of potential energy in it and be emitting a vibration?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting. Hey, you know, when we're talking about all this energy, this probably, you know, we've talked about this before, but probably worth bringing up again in a future show is to, you know, the effects of energy on us, you know, like EMF and 5G and all that kind of stuff. Certainly, you know, in this realm, something to consider.
Yep.
So what was the original question, Becky?
Well,
How do we use energy in our practice? Is that?
Yes. So it's your turn, Jean. Dr.
You know,
Jean.
I use it in a, you know, I also practice network spinal analysis, and while I do, you know, a lot of different things in our practice, it's something I, you know, continue to use. I think I use energy in a very analytical way, I guess, because, you know, much like Allison was talking about the energy and basically disruption of energy, you know, you can use a muscle test, a kinesiology test, to determine where there's interruptions in energies and organ reflexes and acupuncture points and so forth. And then, you know, homeopathics, as we were talking about earlier, is all about energetics, right? So just like the riff machine is reading that vibration of the bacterium or the parasite or whatever, so you can do the same thing using these vials that have in them the vibrations of these things. You're just using a different way to derive that information.
Yeah.
And then, you know, so that's really handy because you can be very specific about, you know, what you're trying to accomplish. And the other thing that's handy about it is that you can, as I was mentioning before, track the resonances, and that will give you relative changes or differences in whatever you're tracking. So that could be heavy metals, it could be parasites, it could be Lyme. And I think, you know, the way I look at it is I think that's a really important piece, because then you know kind of where you're going and whether what you're doing is working. So as opposed to, well, let me try this for 6 weeks and we'll see what happens based on the symptoms. You're tracking it all along, going, yep, this is working, or wait a second, something's off here. Either the product's not working anymore, either the dosage is wrong, or there's a lifestyle or stress issue that's hindering this person's ability to heal. So it just gives you feedback in a way that I think is just it's very helpful in managing, especially when you have people with multiple chronic illnesses and there's lots of stuff going on. And when you have that, you're going to have an upheaval and a clearing out of the body, and just to have an understanding of what's really happening. Because sometimes when you detox, for instance, you can check, say, mercury level in the thyroid. And then if somebody's having some symptoms, you can see what's happening. Oh, the mercury level in the liver is this versus the organ is that. And that can give you information about where things are getting blocked up. Where is the body having a hard time? So then you can direct, say, oh, we need to help out the kidneys or something like that. So it just helps you be more directed. And, we use homeopathics too. And again, in the same way that you can ask the body, like, hey, is this going to work for that? No? Okay, what about this? Oh, yeah, this one will work. And it just allows you to specify your recommended program to each individual. And I can honestly say in 27 years, no two people have had the exact same program. I mean, people have protocols like, well, here's my Lyme protocol. If you have Lyme, here it is. Here's, you do this for 6 months and good luck. I don't, to me, everybody's different. And especially with Lyme, because they're stealthy and they adapt. And so you can be using some herbal combination and then all of a sudden it's not working anymore. And you have to know, okay, this stopped working. It's time to move to homeopathic or time to move to a whole food supplement. And it just allows you to assess everything together. So I think for me, that's mostly how I use energy, is just to read the body. And, of course, like Dr. Matt was saying, that the whole way the body holds energy and expresses itself, it's a whole nother thing there that requires some attention, I think.
Yeah. I want to go off on this. I would like to talk about cold laser therapy for Lyme disease. So way back in, I don't know if you guys are familiar with that, but this was way back in 2007 in the Towson letter, which is a journal for, people in alternative, I hate saying alternative because that's just so dismissing, but health. Lee Cowden, a doctor down in New York City, was doing a lot of work with Lyme, and he was using quina, berber, and cemento as his main, cemento is cat's claw, as his main treatments for Lyme, chronic Lyme, and having very good success. Anyway, he also used this cold laser therapy. And back in the day, I got in touch with Nutrimetics, which is the company that makes his supplements. And he's a man he's a doctor who was fined, I think 3 times $10,000 for treating Lyme unconventionally. And he finally just gave up his MD and he went out to Arizona and practiced as a naturopathic doctor. He's world renowned. But I had a client, this was way back, maybe 12 years, 15 years ago. And I was in a practice with other people. Anyway, she comes in and she goes, have you ever heard of Lee Cowden? And I said, oh yeah, absolutely. And I have some of his, protocol here. And she said, he saved my daughter's life. And she told me her daughter was sitting there. She was there to see a massage therapist, and her daughter looked fine. But her daughter had been a promising soccer player in high school. She spent about 6 months in the hospital with Lyme, unable to really do anything, and called Lee Cowden. And he said, first, I want you to, let's just pray if this is the right avenue for her. And, and then anyway, but they went out there. And the first thing he did, Mom told me, was cold laser. So it's like what Jean's talking about. You take a vial, I think, it's similar, but you take this vial of whatever the toxin is that you want to pull out, and you put it between, he said, Tim Eaton of Nutrimetics told me if you had mercury fillings in your teeth, it would literally pull the fillings right out of your mouth. So you kind of look at the different things and you put this cold laser at it. And the mom told me that he did cold laser on her, initially, and it was Arizona, it was hot. She went out, she was so cold, she went out and laid down on the pavement. But he put her on, a special diet and put her on the Cowden protocol. And when I saw her, she was completely normal. But the only reason I brought that up was the cold laser. I asked Tim Eaton about it, and he said, cold laser is so easy. He said, if I gave my 8-year-old daughter a cold laser thing, she could do it on me. So I think, I don't know, I just throw
We
that
have
out
a
there.
we have a cold laser in the office, and I
Me too.
have one that has. So supposedly, you know, from the manufacturer, I have one that's enhanced that has immune frequencies embedded in it, and so we use it because sometimes scars can affect how the body operates. So you get a scar that interrupts the energy, and typically we'll use wheat germ oil, gluten-free by the way, just to feed vitamin E into the scar, which can help heal the scar and you know, over a period of time dissipate that problem. But the cold laser can help. The scar can hold energy, and it can dissipate, can short out, and so the cold laser can help dissipate that energy out of there. And then sometimes in the scar there can be pathogens, you know, bacteriums most commonly, that just never totally got cleared. Especially so if those of you have those scars that are kind of little still puffy and a little bit tender, chances are there's still a localized you know, bacterial thing going on there, and the laser embedded with these frequencies can actually handle that. So they do work, and I know, and you can probably, and I think, you know, based on that, you could use them, you know, internally, but I think your laser would probably have to be one of those $35,000 lasers versus my $800 laser.
And what is that? You know, so we're talking about energy, right? So it's like cold laser as a treatment, sort of an idea. Like, what does that do? Like, ultimately, it would change the energetic quality of whatever that is, right? So if you have that scar is a great example for so many reasons. But if you think about that, like locked in time, there's some sort of infection, like you say, that never cleared. And then here we are, we have a way of doing that. So it changes the actual energy of it. So if we take a step back just for a moment and look at energy as overall in all of these disciplines that we're talking about here, it makes a huge difference, because whatever it is that you're experiencing in your life, whatever pain that you have, whether that's physical or pathological, you know, some sort of infection or dis-ease process, you know, or whether it's, you know, financial or relational, whatever it is, whatever the pain is, like, it's really there for a reason to let you know that you're not congruent with the life that you've been living. And what I mean by that is that you are at a certain energetic state in the life that you're living, and that it's calling you to more. Like, this pain is supposed to interrupt your life so that you do something different. And when you choose to do something different, what we're all saying right here is, well, what's going to happen? Your energy state's going to rise. Like, everything is about energy. Back to that joke, energy is all that matters. Like, it really, really is. So it's like, you also have a superpower as a human being. You can change your energy state instantly. You know, if you take a look at general society, like, does the Russian society have a high or low energetic? Just ask a dumb question.
The what?
Like, the general society, like, you know, if you were to go out and walk down the city street, generally speaking, is that a high energetic or a low energetic? Yeah, exactly. Not so high. Like, we like to say, gravity of society is fierce. Like, if you don't claim your own energy state prior to going out, like, society will decide for you. I mean, how many people out there have had a beautiful morning, like the birds are singing, there's just something extra special about that egg and toast. And then you like get on your commute and you're on your way and like your favorite song comes on the radio. And it's like, oh my gosh, like everyone's singing just for me. And then that guy cuts you off and like everything screeches to a halt. And suddenly it's like, ah! And the whole day is ruined. The whole day is ruined because that one guy, you know, or it's like, it's basically like the crack in the pavement that topples someone over. You know, we like to joke. You know,
Oh my
the truth is that
you're opening up wormholes here, Matthew.
I know, I know, for lots of reasons, because man, like, it all comes down to energy and how if your energy state is high enough, if your sort of like frequency is high enough, anything of a lower frequency, here's how you know. You either won't be aware of it or you won't care to comment. If you're aware of it and you care to comment, it's a congruent vibrational frequency. And what it is that it's, think of it not as a problem, but as a worthy adversary, as something to show you that your energy state is a little bit lower than what it could be. So use it as an opportunity to say, okay, so what are all the things that I can do to raise my energy? What are, getting back to sustainable strategy, What is it that's going to work each and every time, all the time, and liberate energy over time? We're not trying to get rid of anything here. We're trying to improve your overall baseline. And everyone on this panel is talking about the exact same thing. These are all the same passive same amount, right?
I gotta tell you this, Matt. So, because I saw you in this whole thing. Now you're talking about when you go out on the street, does it bring you up or bring you down kind of thing? This could be totally off what you were saying, but the other night, it was a beautiful day and I went home and I was so pleased because I would say 75% of the people I saw downtown were not wearing masks, as opposed to the opposite that seems to always be. And I just loved it. People coming across the crosswalks, I'm smiling, I'm waving at them. I get home, and I realized I left my laptop. And that's when I saw you, Matt, because I came back to get my laptop and you were in the
Right.
only way for me. And I was so happy to do this trip home again so I could see these people enjoying life without masks on. And it really made me feel so good.
And that's a great example. Like, that is a classic example of happiness, right? That's what we want for everyone. We want happiness. And just to understand that comes from happenstance. In other words, there happens to be some sort of external circumstance that makes us feel good. That's why the crack in the pavement can still topple us over. It's a temporary state, happenstance, versus joy. So joy is the other side of that same coin. Like, nothing can mess with joy. Joy is one of the most powerful states there is, so much so it can actually be blinding at times. And that's energetic state. So you can't mess with joy. Happenstance is temporary. And so there's a very big energetic difference between those two in terms of like where the vibration frequency actually is.
But I think I have joy. I have joy so much. So when you put the happenstance on that, woo.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's not a judgment or like this or that, but it's just understanding the energetics of both of those.
But what about, go ahead, Gene.
Just a couple of things I wanted to mention really quick before we forget for the audience. If you're listening to this on scars, think about your history, because a lot of times women with childbirth can have some tearing downstairs, right? And, you know, it was like, you hear it in the histories all the time. I'm sure both of you, all of you do, like, yeah, you know, ever since I had my first birth, I've had this issue. It can be something as simple as a scar. Certainly C-sections that cut across those meridians totally can interrupt things. And so just think about it. It's something that it could be the key, the one key. You can do all these other good things. And if that energy is interrupted, it can be the key. And the other thing with, you know, Matt, and you guys were talking about, you know, getting out. And so if you're out and everybody in society is sort of low energy, the concept that, you know, we talk about is entrainment, right? So it's, you start to match the vibrational energy of your environment. So if you work on Wall Street and everybody's like frenetic, whether you like it or not, you're harmonically entraining to that energy. And if you go hand with the trees, you know, it's a little different, right? And, you know, I just thought it was interesting concept there when you know, there's these kind of retreats, I guess you'd call them, the gates. What do they call it? What would you call that, man? Like a retreat, like a healing retreat, I guess. The gate.
Oh,
the gate. Yeah, it's like a healing retreat.
It's basically like what we do in the office, but intensive for a full weekend. So it's, imagine like 9 months worth of neurological care in 1 weekend in terms of progress. You know, it's amazing.
So what's happening there is that you go into this mix of this very kind of, I don't know how you describe it, like a pure energy, and it actually kind of alters your baseline, I think. And then from there, you know, you do. So I went to my experience. I went to a gate. This was, you know, several years back. It was Memorial Day weekend. I remember coming home. So it was Monday night, about 2 a.m. So it was actually Tuesday morning, and I'm kind of laying there, just peaceful, calm, and I kind of just wake up and become aware of something. And all of a sudden, I'm living in the city in Atlanta, and I hear, and this big crash. So I got up and looked outside, and I saw there's 2 cars kind of drag racing down my street, and they were pinned up against my vehicle. So obviously I got my pants on, whatever, I went out the door and they were gone. And my car was totaled. But I remember just looking at me like, oh, okay, well, I'll deal with it in the morning.
Yeah.
And I went back, like you get in that state, your energy is in a state where, like you were saying, it's like in that state, really nothing affects you.
And don't
Right.
you
I love that. I love that's like
I
so
love
the
it.
guy that just real quick. So if in that same state, there's that guy that cuts you off on your way in the morning. Joy looks at him, he's like, "Oh, you first. Have a great day." And looks at the person in the passenger seat and goes, "He's angry." And keeps driving.
Don't you think we can use if we take authority over our energy, instead of responding to the negative energy around us, can we not instead impart our positive energy to other people? I think that's really important. When you're in a grocery store or something, there's a lot of, stuff going on. Just, keep who you are, keep what you know, keep your joy, keep who you are, your energy. And if we can get bad energy from other people, cannot we then impart good energy to others?
Absolutely. Dr. Tisa, my wife and I, we make a game out of it. We'll go into a restaurant where there's not too many people and we'll literally just sort of like pump that higher energetic up. And the whole goal is to like pick the energy up of the whole place and to have more people get brought into the restaurant. Because you can look at two restaurants right next to each other and there's the one restaurant that is like, there's not really anybody there. And then the other restaurant is packed. The difference could be as simple as the packed restaurant, like the chef loves to cook. Every time he shows up to work, he just can't wait to make meals and like throw all the ingredients together, and the energy, the frequency, it's high, it's really high. And so it appreciates that everyone gets something inside us, calls us to that, because we're ultimately always called to more. Always
Awesome.
called to more.
Allison, you had a point.
Well, I had a question really. So you talk about high and low energy. So when I envision like a low energy, I envision, you're out in the street and people kind of had their heads down or they're just kind of not paying attention and whatnot. But what about, like Dr. Jean was saying, in Wall Street, or you're walking in New York City and everyone's super like seemingly high energy, but they're really like not. I don't think that's like what you're talking about, right? How is that low energy? So in Chinese medicine, we have like an excess pattern that's excess because of an underlying deficiency. And that's kind of how we would look at it, is that the deficiency causes stagnation and then it causes like this excess presentation, but it's truly a deficiency. Is that?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
The way we would describe it as high energy. So it would be like a, sort of like high state is a conscious and ecological use of energy. It doesn't necessarily look as frantic or like, all animated, which we've been a little bit today. It's a conscious and ecological use of the energy you do have.
So
how would you guys look at it?
Those people are on a high vibration, you would say?
Oh yeah, very.
What about like
they're not using
tone?
it to their full potential? If they're super stressed out and they're running and don't feel like they have time and they're not paying attention.
You might say that's a buy now, pay later plan. They're gonna crash. You can only do that for so long. I mean, you hear about the ex-Wall Street a lot.
What about like tone or resonance? In other words, so if you're listening to certain music that's very dissonant, that can have a negative effect on your own energy, right? Like a kind of a negative way, whereas maybe like classical music might be in a way that can have a shift on your energy. So when you say like, you use the term frenetic, like a frenetic energy, it seems to be like an energy that's not in sync, that's kind of out of sync with itself, versus something that seems to be smooth and flowing, I guess.
Absolutely. And it comes down to also to claiming your own sovereignty, no matter what it is, like your own energetic state, like understanding what's yours and what's theirs and what it is that you choose to share. And if there's one thing that you could take away from that, know that you have a choice. You have a choice in everything. And people that are more empathic and can feel more from other people, you still have a choice. You don't have to wear that. You don't have to take on someone else's energy and all of this stuff. It comes down to your own energetic state and how solid this has become for you. So
Right.
the more coherent.
Taking authority.
Yeah, yeah,
Sure.
that could be applied to a lot of things that we don't have time to talk about today that are
Would-
relative to the current state of the nation and the world.
Would it be kind of accurate to say that just like we start out in the beginning talking about this healthy body is able to handle this pathogen that's, ubiquitous, that's all around us all the time, and a healthy energetic state can also then handle the negative or maybe, I don't know what the word is, but nefarious energies or something like that?
Yeah, true resilience.
Resilience.
That's
the
it.
word.
That's it. Water off a duck's back. It's very real. And it comes with you changing your state and claiming something new. And the way you do that is by raising your energy.
And by the
Yeah.
way, today is a 2-hour show. No.
It certainly
We
could
have
be,
to
right?
wrap it up.
Okay,
We didn't talk
lunch
about hyperbaric fitness at all.
Some other time.
I can't
Oxygen's good for you.
Another time. But
I'm
I think
so
this was
excited.
really
for that.
fun. I mean, this was really fun.
Yeah. Yeah, always. I'll call.
When's
We
your
can
next-
just get our lunch delivered. We can keep going.
Hey, thanks for
Yes.
tuning in, everyone.
Yeah,
When's
thank
our
you so
next
much.
time? 2 weeks? 2 weeks?
Yep. 2
Uh,
weeks on Friday, same time, 11 a.m.
Yep,
Okay.
it's the first
Yeah.
and third Friday of every month. So that happens to be
Okay.
2 weeks this time around.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks,
Fourth.
guys. That was really fun.
I'm going to be actually, I will not be making the 4th. I think I got a webinar, so that I got to
All
attend.
right, we'll miss you, Dr. Jean.
All right.
Thanks for
All
today.
Peace out.
All right, everybody. Have a great weekend.